This is going to be a sad one because it's going to be the last one. You're watching the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G, and right there is the best thing we saw thus far today. Northwestern defensive back Brandon Joseph picking off Justin Fields. Fields had 2 interceptions. Here's one of them, one-handed. Who says defensive backs can't catch a football? With a sleeveless hoodie, no less.
Who wears a sleeveless hoodie? Nobody wears a sleeve. Like, if your neck's cold, what, your arms are warm? What are we doing? Like a sleeveless hoodie? Under a jersey?
This sounds like a guy who's never had a cold neck. Listen, that's the first 15 seconds of the show. Imagine how the rest of the 59 minutes are going to be. Welcome, friends. This is our Studio E Lounge. Studio E Lounge. That sounds about right. This is the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G and Jason Fitz styling something special for us
This
today.
is a proper hoodie, all right? There are sleeves. And there's a hood. That's how it's done. I mean, it's simple.
I think it's hilarious how you describe that as a proper hood.
Thank you. It's formal wear.
Would you wear that in June?
Well, I mean, if I'm a little chilly, maybe. Like, if you ever sing a Christmas song, ever, that says, I wish it was Christmas every day, and then you'd have a problem with me wearing this in June, you're a fraud.
First of all,
it's very simple.
Let the record show I have no problem with that hoodie as Jason Fitz is about to take us through an incredible championship weekend. I, of course, am Gary Striewski. Special guest Kelsey Riggs joining us on the other side of what we are about to see transpire in the ACC title game between Notre Dame and Clemson.
Let's get to it. It's beginning to look a lot like chaos all over the College Football Playoff Committeeville as they watched games together today, and what they saw is not going to make their job any easier. Let's pick it up 2nd and 5, Notre Dame. At the Notre Dame 34, I should say. Trevor Lawrence's pass tipped, intercepted by Kyle Hamilton. Notre Dame was up 3-0 earlier. They missed this kick that would have put them up 6-0. It looked like Notre Dame was just teetering on the edge of being able to really assert themselves. And then, well, Clemson happened. Trevor Lawrence, remember he missed first game. He did not miss that pass. Holy cow, Amari Rogers, 67 yards for the tutty. Remember, he was not the problem in the first game. DJ Uiagalelei had a very good game, and also I wanted to take this moment to remind you that I can still pronounce DJ Uiagalelei. You don't practice it and then not use it as much as you possibly can. All right, we pick it up here, 2nd and 4, the Notre Dame 33. Trevor Lawrence steps up in the pocket, slings a dart to E.J. Williams. He's going the distance. He's going for speed, 33-yard touchdown, 14-3 for Clemson early on, and it just started to rain at that point. Travis Etienne says, scoring looks like it's fun on Dasher, on Dancer, on Prancer, and Vixen. I want more of that. Touchdown, Clemson.
Is Prancer a real one?
No, what?
Is there a Prancer?
Well, yes, Prancer.
I just wanted to double check. It's been a while.
Well, you know, all I know is that if I was ever in the end zone, I would prance. It's 24-3 at halftime. 24-3 at halftime for what we thought was going to be this epic rematch. Trevor Lawrence is on Donner on blitzing. Let's all get in on the fun. Sets it down politely in case Rudolph wants to pick it up later on. To the house, 31-3 at that point. I mean, the lane here for Trevor Lawrence, who just says, whoop, I would like to go over there. I shall find a chimney, and I shall deliver all of the presents. And this is not going to stop for the next hour.
I don't want it to. I'm not
Christmas
asking
spirit.
you to.
I don't know how many of these I can come up with, but I'm damn sure going to find out. Trevor Lawrence gets a touchdown. That puts Clemson up 31-3, and that was just beginning right now. Oh, Notre Dame has scored.
Don't call it a comeback.
34-10. This game was 34-3, so they're making it a game. Look at that stat line. Travis Etienne, 10 rushes, 124 yards, and a touchdown. Ian Book actually has had an effective day on the stat sheet, 16-22, 176. But Notre Dame has not been able to sustain a drive. So what we have seen in this is the one thing that we weren't prepared to really figure out what it would mean, and that's a blowout. And that's exactly what we have here. We have a blowout, and so let's get a little bit of analysis on it. We're going to bring in our friend Kelsey Riggs from the ACC Network. Joining us, Kelsey, thanks so much for hanging out in studio. So let's start. I mean, nobody thought that we'd see the blowout other than this guy that may have called it the other day. Now what is the real question? If you're looking at this from a College Football Playoff Committee standpoint, the heck do you do with this kind of a result?
Can we say two things first? No one expected this game, and I didn't come in here expecting this much Christmas. So I'm sorry. I feel like I let you down. I dressed more like Gary than I did you, and I wasn't prepared for that. So I'm sorry.
Little dig at me.
I do feel like each of you, like there's professionalism on each side of me, and I'm just sitting here in all my Santa Claus.
I mean, we put these jackets on simply so that we would no longer look like twins, because we did look like twins.
You don't see the resemblance.
Yes, you see the resemblance. I did not see this coming with Clemson Notre Dame. I mean, they always say the sequel's never going to be as good as the first one, and you hope that they're wrong. And in this case, we weren't. I mean, I think it's just going to be a mess, you guys, for the college football committee now, the playoff committee, because what do? You have this team in Notre Dame that before this game was undefeated, that had come out and had beat Clemson. Yes, they were without Trevor Lawrence and some other key defensive players in that game, but they won. And so now you look at this Notre Dame team, and it's going to turn out to be, I mean, right now it's a 24-point game. So all of a sudden things shake up a little bit. You've got Ohio State still in there. We're waiting to see what Alabama does in the SEC championship game. And I think we probably know how that one will go. But what do we know in 2020? Nothing is what we know in 2020. Nothing ever goes the way. I think it's going to be tight for Notre Dame now. I mean, the only thing coming into this game that I kept saying is Notre Dame's definitely in unless it's a blowout. And that's what we're getting right now. So what do you do?
Kelsey, so best case scenario for Notre Dame as it presently sits, if this remains a 3-score affair, is they go from number 2 and they flip-flop with Clemson. Clemson goes to number 2, and then Notre Dame better cross their fingers that they just fall to 3. But we still have to wait and see what happens in the SEC championship game. And then you also have Texas A&M sort of knocking on the door. So let's just dive into the mess. Is there any scenario in your world right now that Notre Dame, 1, doesn't make the CFP, or 2, doesn't deserve to be in the CFP, depending on how this game ends?
I think they deserve to be in this game. I do think there's a scenario where they don't make it in the college football playoffs, because Texas A&M is really interesting to me right now. They're the team that's sitting at number 5, okay? And so then you look at what happens with Alabama, Florida tonight. Well, what happens if Florida somehow comes out and beats Alabama? And that's a team that Texas A&M has beaten. So then that makes Texas A&M's resume look a little bit better because, okay, you know, they lost to Alabama, but they beat Florida, and then Florida wins the SEC championship. You start thinking, okay, do we put Texas A&M in there? On the other hand, you look at Notre Dame and you say, okay, yes, they did lose to Clemson here, but they also beat Clemson earlier in the year. They also have a good win over North Carolina, another team that's a top 10 team. So I think that, you know, there has been a top 10 team a lot of the year. To me, it comes down to either Texas A&M or Notre Dame, depending on the way things shake out tonight. But I think it's going to be really interesting because now all of a sudden, I mean, to me, it was going to be clear cut. It was those were the 4. Ohio State, yes, it wasn't pretty, but they got the job done today, and so those were going to be the 4. And now all of a sudden, with a blowout, it changes it a little, you guys.
Well, yeah, and what does the committee value when? We always talk about recency and why that matters. Like, you're talking about a blowout right now. Remember, Texas A&M lost. I looked it up here. I'm not going to pretend I had it off the top of my head. Bama beat them 52-24, but that was all the way back on October 3rd. So 52-24 was the Bama win over A&M. A&M's best win this year is over Florida, 41-38. That was the following week. That's really what this comes down to. Like, you've got a good win and a blowout loss now for both of these teams. I mean, if you're Notre Dame, you're saying, hey, we got a good win over Clemson, we have a blowout loss, but we also have that North Carolina. Like, this is where we're going to be splitting hairs if you look at the equation from A&M side. So, Kelsey, I guess when you look at this matchup particularly, what went wrong? How did we get here in this game?
I mean, we can say that Trevor Lawrence, like the quarterback last time, it wasn't the problem, and it wasn't. DJ was fantastic, and you nailed his name, and I'm just going to let you run with it because you said it so well earlier that, you know, I don't think that I could do any better with
Uyunglele. I got you.
Yeah. But, you know, we said that he wasn't the problem because they did. They threw for a ton of yards last time, but they couldn't get the run game going, and that's where Trevor Lawrence is able to make a difference. A, he can run. B, the decisions that he makes. And DJ's going to be great, and he's going to continue making good decisions, and he's going to learn. But you saw sometimes where maybe he held onto the ball, where he should have handed it off, vice versa. Trevor Lawrence is that X factor. And then you look at Clemson's defense, the fact that they had a healthy defense back this time. And we saw from the beginning of the game with Notre Dame, they came out and Clemson's defense was stifling them. You know, it was 3-0. Then we saw the missed kick, and that kind of felt like a little bit of the turning point because Notre Dame felt like they had the momentum early, and then that Clemson defense steps up, and all of it takes is Trevor Lawrence sending one over the top, and this game looks a lot different.
Usually we keep you updated on scores because they're close. I'll keep you updated on this one because it's not close, and that matters to the committee. It is 34-10, just under 5 minutes to go, and currently Clemson has the ball. So we'll keep you updated on what that means. In the meantime, for all this playoff conversation, there is at least a shot that Notre Dame is still in the playoff. And either way, Brian Kelly, their coach, had some strong words to say about the possibility that they would decline an offer even if it came to be in the college football playoff. Check out what he said.
So maybe they need to spend a little less time on who the top 4 teams are and figure out how to get parents into these games, because it is an absolute shame and a sham if parents can't be watching their kids play. You're going to tell me we're going to have a playoff and maybe one side can have families and the other can't? Please. Somebody's got to wake up in that room and figure this out. Or you just might as well just call this the professional league, because nothing speaks to this is just about, having a playoff and we don't care about the student athletes.
Now, some of these sentiments were echoed by Dabo Swinney, the Clemson head coach. Quote, "It makes no sense to me to put a bunch of kids on a plane and fly them all the way to California to play in an empty stadium. That makes zero sense when you have plenty of stadiums where you can have fans, and most importantly, you can have families. It should be the same for all 4 teams as far as the opportunity that you have this year. Everybody has had to make adjustments. To me, that would be a simple one to make. All of this is a conversation that's happening because of the Rose Bowl. For anybody that's not aware, because of current California legislation, they are not allowing anybody to go into stadiums. As a result, what you end up with is a Rose Bowl game set to take place in California where families wouldn't be there. This is not a conversation about skipping the playoffs, really, as much as it's a conversation about how do they find a way to move this semifinal playoff game. So let's react to it. Kelsey, do you think there's any realistic shot that either of these teams would decline a playoff invitation if it meant they had to play in California?
I think Gary's laugh said it all right there, right? I don't think that there's any way they decline it, because if you're talking about what do the student athletes want and what's good for them, it's to compete in the college football playoff. That's what they worked for all season. That's why they sacrificed so much time with friends and family, and the normal college life was to be a part of something like this. So would they pass up the opportunity? No, I don't think so. But I do respect Brian Kelly and Dabo Swinney for saying, hey, this is something that needs to be addressed. It needs to be looked at. Now, in the same breath, as much as you respect that, you have to also understand what's going on out there in California and know that, hey, if we make an exception for football, then what else are we going to hear about that we didn't make an exception for? So, then it's the question of do you move the Rose Bowl? Can you move the Rose Bowl? Is it the Rose Bowl if it's not at the Rose Bowl? It's different.
The San Francisco 49ers, for the time being, are the Arizona 49ers. So they've moved an entire NFL franchise. And this is me agreeing with what you're saying, Kelsey. And I agree with what Coach Kelly and Coach Swinney are saying. The entirety of this college football season, they've followed every protocol, every guideline. So for them to say, hey, you guys got to adjust something. Otherwise, we're the meal ticket here. So, if you guys don't listen to a little bit of what we're saying, what the hell is the point? Now, do I think if they actually got the invite to the CFP, the administrators and the donors at Clemson and Notre Dame are not going to be like, hey, you're going to play in the Rose Bowl. But I like the message. I like the message that they're sending.
I think it's important to be very clear on the message they're sending, and you guys have both hit on it. But this is a message about moving the Rose Bowl. It's unrealistic for anybody to ask for California to change anything in the way that they do business, especially when you factor in the fact that there are businesses and families everywhere that aren't able to make any money. California is having so many crises as a result of this. So it's not realistic to think that California will work around the Rose Bowl. The question is, will the College Football Playoff Committee work something out much like the NFL has done, not just with the 49ers, but even with the NFL draft this year in Vegas. Will they work out a way to move that semifinal game to a place that allows for families to be there? It would be an incredible experience for them if that could happen, but I also understand that realistically, as I say all the time, fair is where a pig gets a ribbon. It's not life, especially in 2020. That's my Southernism right there for you, Gary.
You actually also used that one last week, and I really appreciate that. I'm going to steal it from you. Fair is a place where a pig gets a ribbon. Okay, what if they wanted to move this to, let's just say, Indianapolis, the site of the Big Ten?
Look at that segue.
Look at that. Ohio State versus Northwestern, 3rd and 2. Buckeyes up 3. Peyton Ramsey, Northwestern, not anymore. 34 yards later, Northwestern marching down the field, getting in position to score just over 4 ticks. Very next play, Cam Porter takes the direct snap. 9 yards. He's a house. Jesus. What a large man. Northwestern up 7-3. We're in the second quarter now. 2nd and 10. Northwestern up by 4. Justin Fields completes to Garrett Wilson. 22 Buckeyes didn't play in this game, including the team's leading receiver, Chris Olave. This right here, you saw it at the beginning of the game. Brandon Joseph, the one-handed interception. Slow motion makes everything look better, and it does. Wildcats still with the lead, 10-6 at halftime. Justin Fields, not a good day. 0 touchdowns through the air, 2 interceptions. We're in the second half now. 3rd quarter, same score. Trey Sermon, the only reason the Ohio State Buckeyes won this game, and I'm not exaggerating when I say he was the only reason. 33 yards right there, and then a couple plays later, Sermon, 9 yards straight up the middle. Buckeyes take the lead 13-10.
Preach! Just had to throw it.
I wanted to use that. Then Mark Sanchez used it, and I was like, you know what?
Oh, Sanchez used it?
Yeah, I don't want to bite his style, but you can.
Yeah.
Northwestern, Ramsey's pass interception by Josh Proctor. I feel like the ball just kind of found him as opposed to the other way around. Anyway, Justin Fields, the bench, they're jacked. Ohio State's bench loving it. 4th quarter, Buckeyes up 6. Sermon again, 25-yard scamper. Buckeyes up 16-10, just over 4 minutes to play later on the drive. 2nd and goal. Sermon had over 300 yards, 331 to be exact. That's a school record. Ohio State, your Big Ten champion, as they knock off Northwestern 22-10. So, are they the sexiest 6-win team we've ever seen in college football history? Absolutely. Are they the only team that could only play 6 games and yet still be in the college football playoff picture? Abso-freaking-lutely, and that's why we're talking about Ohio State currently sitting at number 4, and depending on what happens between Notre Dame and Clemson, maybe they bump up a little bit, maybe they don't deserve to. I don't know. Fitz, what do you think?
I think you just said sexiest 6-win better than most people could, so commend you. All right, let's bring in some extra. If we had hung stockings before the show, there would have been 2, and then we added one for Kelsey. We're going to add a 4th stocking now as Steph Otey joins us. She is there in Indianapolis. Thank you so much for hanging out. We appreciate it. So one of the big things that the committee has talked about is game control. This was not a game that Ohio State had in control for much of it. So how would you, having watched this team all year, assess the way that they looked throughout the course of this game?
That's a tough one because they've only played 6 games. And when you think about all these other teams, they've had a lot more live game reps. Coach Day talked about that a lot. In fact, that was the first thing he said right when the ceremony took place. He knew this was going to happen. He knew it was going to be a tough game. But when you see guys like Trey Sermon come out, break school records, and really show up when they needed to, it helps you give the edge when you need to evaluate who gets in and who doesn't. And if you're going to consider whether or not Ohio State deserves to get in, that should have been a discussion before the season even started. Would a Big Ten school get in with a limited schedule? So when you come in undefeated and then you add on a title from the championship and the conference, I think that helps you get the edge for the playoffs.
Steph, Gary Striewski here. I think I know what your answer is going to be based off of what you just said, but I'm going to say this. Ohio State had not 1, not 2, 3 games canceled so far this season, which is the reason they only got to 6 played games. However, all that being said, I mean, there's teams who quite literally almost have double the games played and have only 1 loss to their resume. So I ask you, do they still deserve to have a spot in the college football playoff? Because a team by any other name with this same resume, I don't think makes it. Like if USC would have won the Pac-12 title and been 6-0, I don't think they're in the college football playoff discussion.
I hear you, but I know that some committee members do look at a conference title. And when people were questioning and doubting whether or not Ohio State deserved to be in the Big Ten championship, they had a meeting, they discussed it, and they decided that they will ease that 6-game qualifier, all because if Ohio State and Michigan did play in that rivalry game, Ohio State still would have won the Big Ten East because they beat Indiana head-to-head. So I feel for Tom Allen, I feel for the Indiana Hoosiers, but when you beat someone head-to-head, you get the edge on them to get into the Big Ten championship. So when you get that title for the 4th year in a row, it helps you get into the playoffs, and I know a lot of committee members are going to think about that as well.
Stephanie, definitely not the best game for Justin Fields, but by far the best game for Trey Sermon. What has the talk been around him? I mean, he had 65% of their total yards in this game, which is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, Trey Sermon came in, and it took a while to come off, but we saw it today. And earlier this season, position coach Tony Alford talked about Trey Sermon. He recruited him, and then they played against each other earlier. He said there was no hostility. They still really respected each other. In fact, Justin Fields and Trey Sermon worked out together in high school, so they already had some built-in chemistry. But when he came into the program, he really just blended well with them, especially after Master Teague had the Achilles injury in the offseason. They felt like they had to really compete, and it helped up the ante for them after they all had all these running back competition in the room. So it definitely helped, and Trey Sermon blended in really well with the team. So it's awesome to see him come in and make a really big performance today at the championship.
Steph, we appreciate you hanging out with us. Thanks so much for the time. Stay safe in Indy. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right, we're going to peel behind the curtain here. We're just going to have a little bit of fun. Next up, we're going to go to the Big 12 championship game. We have no idea what highlights we're going to see, so we are going to react as a team to what comes up here.
Right.
Oklahoma took on
fashion,
Iowa State.
Everything is a surprise.
Oh, no, never mind. We're switching gears. We're going Texas A&M taking on the Vols. Harrison Bailey passed to Jacob Ward for 33 yards for a touchdown right there. 7-0 early on. The Vols were up in this one and feeling pretty good about this. Now, this was a game where I said all week that Texas A&M was going to try and put up 100 points if they possibly could, just to show some style points. It did not work out that way. Kellen Mond here, though, with the rushing touchdown, ties the game at 7 apiece. Second quarter, 1st and 10, Texas A&M up by 10. JT Shrout finds Cedric Tillman for a 46-yard reception and touchdown. This thing's pretty. I have a sneaking suspicion it'll come up later in the show. Gotta love to stick them in those gloves.
Incomplete.
Just say, Oh, okay. And Kellen Mond here getting back in the fun. And Nia Smith, 4-yard touchdown. Wide open spaces. Makes it 24-13 for Texas A&M.
Is that the Dixie Chicks?
Yeah, it was the Dixie Chicks. Flash forward, 34-13 here.
Nice.
Shrout throws it up for a Hail Mary. Intercepted by Brian George. Texas A&M wins this one 34-13 in a game that was closer than the final score shows. And I will be interested to see what the committee has to say about it. With that in mind, Coach Jimbo Fisher had plenty to say about Texas A&M and where they belong in the college football playoff when he said this.
Why do you think Texas A&M is deserving of a top 4 playoff finish?
Let me tell you why. We play in the best league in ball. We got beat by the #1 team in the country, who also had another superstar on the team when they played us named Waddle. People ain't even playing with him now. No team in SEC history has never lost not one game and been in it. The other leagues, I love them all. If we can't play in this league and be in the playoff, something's wrong.
Strong statements. Kelsey, agree, disagree?
It's an interesting year, I feel like. So what we would normally go with and what we would normally always tend to say, hey, it's got to be this way, it's got to be that way. I don't feel like we can necessarily fall in that same category this year. Do you guys?
No, and this is the thing, the joke that we made on College Football Live was that nobody was angrier when they announced the SEC schedule than Jimbo was, because it did not look like it was going to favor them at all. And instead, they ran through that schedule. Yes, they have a massive, epic loss. I'm not taking anything away from getting that butt whooped by Bama, and that's exactly what happened. But still, when you look across the board, they do have the big win over Florida. So they do have a bit of a resume point here that they can make at this point.
I'm chewing on this one. Everything Coach just said, I agree with. They only lost to the best team in the country, and everybody says it's usually just Alabama and everybody else. And if we're talking recency, well, Notre Dame just went final, so they just lost. Texas A&M just won. I don't care who it was that it was the Tennessee Volunteers. Listen, they're 8-1 in the best conference in football. There's a case there. I think it's more than just hey, let's talk about it for some fodder. It wouldn't shock me if they snuck in.
Well,
I'm not even going to call it sneak in, if they got in.
I mean, hasn't the committee sort of been warning us about this by keeping them at 5 every single week? The committee's been telling them there's a chance the whole time. And now, I mean, I know we're splitting hairs, but it should be noted that the final score, 34-10 for Clemson Notre Dame, that's a 24-point loss. Quick math, the loss to Bama was by more. I'm not going to.
And I love elementary math, and it all depends on what happens tonight in the title game, if Florida keeps it close or if they get absolutely waxed. So I love it.
You know what? We're going to wing it now. We're going to have some fun. Oklahoma took on Iowa State today for the Big 12 championship. And we're going to watch the highlights
Ohio
as you
State
watch that.
Ruined it for everybody, because if they would have taken care of that.
Here it
That's
is.
Matt Campbell losing his mind.
That lasted for a good 20 seconds.
I mean, that could have been the whole rip there.
I think it was valid because he did get ejected for targeting, and I don't think that was targeting. So I think he had a case for his guy.
Spencer Rattler is a quarterback at Oklahoma that has had at times an incredible year, and at times you just look at him and say, well, he's young. In this game, he was incredible, especially early on. Incredibly accurate with the ball, knew exactly where he was going with it. Oklahoma, their offense looked good, guys, and you're seeing it here. It was 17-0. At one point, it looked like it was going to get ugly. They were trying to draw him off sides. Matt Campbell losing his mind again.
He's not over it yet. He was fired up for a long time. But, yeah, that Oklahoma offense looked really good early. And Spencer Rattler, 272 yards. Passing touchdown, getting it done every way. Matt Campbell still losing his mind.
Coach is fired up.
Matt Campbell's like me 10 minutes after somebody cut me off in traffic when I'm still by that car.
You're that guy?
And I'm like, you know, all this Christmas.
Guys,
You're
stand
in
by.
your Christmas sweater? Yeah.
Cyclones on the board. Brock Purdy hooking up with
It's
Charlie
Brock
Kohler
Oh-So
right there.
Purdy on
Oh-So
the
Purdy.
show?
I
Yeah.
didn't want to take your shtick right there,
mean,
but Spencer
Oh-So Purdy.
Rattler, 9-yard scamper. That capped off a 4-play, 45-yard drive as the Sooners go up 24-7. Now we're in the fourth, 5 minutes to play. Can the Cyclones creep? That's Bryce Hall for a 3-yard score. So, guys, Iowa State within 3 points at this point. With a minute to play, Destiny's still on their side. They could make something happen. I don't know what's about to happen.
Oh! Mistimed jump.
That stinks.
Oh, that is a heartbreaking. Look, it was a bad. I won't say it was a bad pass in that situation. The ball got too much air on it. Wide receiver mistimed the jump. The DB comes down with it. And obviously, through all of that, Oklahoma gets the 6-point win. 27-21. That's number 10 Oklahoma beat number 6 Iowa State. That is an important score because given everything we've seen today, there'd be a much different conversation if Iowa State would have come in and been able to run roughshod over Oklahoma. That didn't happen. Oklahoma gets the big win. They get the big resume addition.
My question is, what would the conversation have been? Because is Iowa State really going to flirt with the CFP conversation, or are they just going to go in there and be disruptor again had they won?
I mean, would they? I think they would have flirted with the conversation, given the way the committee has just brought them up and up and up every single week, no matter what they do. So, Kelsey, any thought in your mind that Oklahoma can sneak in somewhere? They beat the number 6 team in all the land. There's been lack of game control from a couple. Could you see a massive historic jump from Oklahoma?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kelsey Riggs.
But you guys were saying, that Iowa State could have flirted with the line. That's the thing. They would have just flirted with it had they won. I don't think that it would have made a difference. I don't think that this is going to, help Oklahoma flirt their way into the conversation. They can bat whatever eyes they want to. I don't think it's going to happen for Oklahoma.
What an unprecedented move, though, had it been a number 10 ranked Oklahoma Sooners team with, 3 losses, 2 losses? Just all of a sudden jumping 7 spots. Not a shot in hell, but the collective college football minds and every single fan would have just...
Right?
I like the conversation topic, though.
It should at least be noted. We haven't even gotten to the SEC championship game, and right now I feel less certain than I have felt in a long time about what the committee is going to do tomorrow when they make their final rankings. So it actually turns out to be pretty dramatic, and that all comes from this. Again, the final score, 34-10. Margin of victory matters here. Trevor Lawrence, 25-36 for 322, 2 tutties, and a rushing touchdown. Also the 1 pick. Travis Etienne, 10 rushes, 124 yards, and a touchdown. Big big game for them.
The Notre Dame heading into this game, even if they lost, the All-State playoff predictor still had them with a 46% chance to get in.
Okay.
Even with the loss. But, of course, that doesn't take into account, is it a 1-point loss? Is it a 24-point loss? Is it an overtime loss? So going to be really interesting to see what happens in that SEC game.
Kelsey Riggs, real quick.
That has a lot to do with it.
What's your top 4? Real quick, on the spot.
Right now, my top 4 would be Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Notre Dame. But that's also taking into account, and if I'm the College Football Playoff Committee, that I don't want to see Notre Dame and Clemson play again right away. So I don't want them at 2 and 3. So I'm going to jump Clemson up to 2. I'm going to give Ohio State number 3. And sorry, Notre Dame, you lost very badly, and there is recency bias. So you're going down to 4, but they're still in for me.
Kelsey, that's what makes you a rock star. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Have a great night, my friend. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Enjoy some Zinfandel.
Next year, I'll bring the Christmas sweater. Some Zinfandel. I will, Gary. Thank you for that. Maybe Gary will, too. Maybe, have you, Gary? Like Zinfandel?
I've been known to enjoy a glass or two.
I love the fact that, I've been working with Gary for this long, and he didn't offer me, and he's in. All right, let's get to a little bit of fun, Gary. Let's rank some scores.
Holy cow! All right, these are the best 3 holy cows that we've seen today. Basically, we show you a play, and we're going to rank them. This is Northwestern defensive back. We've seen this.
Oh, Brandon Joseph, yeah, with the pick. We'll get this replay, I think. We'll see it again. From the first angle, the best part about this, and you can't hear it right now, but I just got to give him love. Gus Johnson, one of my favorite to call college football games. His voice cracked. He went full Jason Fitz, I'm in puberty mode when he went, oh my God, he got the interception. That's my favorite part about it. Look at this catch. I got to give it a score, and I'm going to give it a solid 98.
Solid 98.
It gets a 98. If you ask yourself, why did it not get 100? It's wearing gloves. I mean, those gloves help, Gary. I don't care what you say. Those gloves help. 98.
It's a contractor's tool. They're allowed to wear gloves. You can't outlaw them, so give the man 100, but I'm not going to knock the 98 that's still a passing grade, that's still an A+, Jason.
98's better than a passing grade, and 98's really stinking good.
No, 100%. We're not on a binary system. All right, we're on to number 2. This is going to be, we also saw this one, a Tennessee catch that was muy caliente. JT Shrout launches it deep into the end zone. Cedric Tillman, heavily guarded, drapes all over him like he was an interior designer, full extension, hangs on for the score. I called it incomplete at first, but they did away with the rule as long as you maintain possession. Baby! I mean, Tennessee did lose, but the full extension, I loved it. Holy cow, Jason Fitz, give me a 100!
Oh, my God, you are in a Santa-giving spirit.
I am.
Wow, did you bring your elves with you?
Tis the season. I'm in a giving mood, Jason Fitz. Don't knock me. It's a 100.
All right, well, you got to do one. I'm going to do another one of our favorite plays today. A little holy cow action for LSU.
I can't wait for you to call out.
This is Zach Von Rosenberger. Now, here's the thing. I watched this play right before the show. They said, hey, this is going to be in holy cow. Check it out. What score are you going to give it? All right, look at this.
It's an agile punter. I would give him 100.
That's like a 372-year-old punter making a quick move to the outside. Let's be real here. Caroline Fenton, who works on this show, gets a 100 as a personality. She's just amazing and does incredible work. However, she is a die-hard LSU fan. I feel like in the last show of the regular season, she crammed in an LSU highlight because she was watching the game. This gets the lowest score I've ever given on Holy Cow. It gets a 50. And if I didn't like Caroline so much, I would have given it a 0.
You're Grinch mode. Can you just let her have something nice this year after what LSU was?
She can still wear championship gear. Like, they're still defending national champions.
I just don't get it. The big punter, give him a 100.
A 783-year-old punter making a slight move around somebody before he kicks. All right, fine. Let's get to some even bigger highlights.
Divine Bovine. This was the holiest cows of the year in Jason Fitz because this is your show. You have to start.
All right, I will start. Holiest of cows from 2020. First up, let's get a little love to Arkansas State. Wide receiver Jonathan Adams Jr. Look at this. Ball's up in the air. Oh! Nearly hauls in a touchdown with his fingers. But as he hits the ground, he does lose a little bit of control of it. I got to give this an 80. I know.
God,
I gave it a low score because the word nearly was in it.
Okay.
Like, he nearly caught it. He didn't catch it. He lost control going onto the ground. That's not a touchdown.
Before I get too upset, I just have to go because I give that 100.
Soft.
Give it an 80. Okay, fine. Auburn's Bo Nix throws the fade to Seth Williams, who reaches over the defender.
I remember this
I'm
one.
giving this completely away over Kentucky's defender and says, give me that. You know what I gave that? A 100, because then he sunned him after the play, pushed him, flexed on him.
Sunned him?
That is a
What's
100.
sunning someone?
You just sunned him. Go,
Okay.
kid, go to your room.
Oh, sun. Like, I thought you meant like the sun, the bright sun in the sky.
Son, go to your room. You're grounded. No Xbox.
What'd you give that? You gave that 100?
That's right. I gave that a 100.
Boy, we are going to have some battles in the judging. All right, we'll go to Oklahoma here. And actually, looks like
Red River rivalry. Here we go.
got this. Charleston Rambo. Oh, man. Now, this is a really, really beautiful catch because it gets deflected and he reaches back and then he pops it up. As I always say, it looks like a dinner roll about to hit the ground. And he's like, no, like when the one cherry Mike and Ike you've saved till the very last is about to go down, you're like, I must save you. It's a good play.
Do the right thing,
I
Jake.
give it an 83.
Jesus.
I mean, it was good. It was good.
Dude, you're impossible.
Well, I mean, I'm a tough grader.
All right, South Carolina marching up the field. Shai Smith makes an incredible catch, falling to the ground one-handed, keeps the concentration, defensive back all over him. His friends are excited. What are friends? I don't know. He has plenty of them. You know what I give this, Jason Fitz? Take one guess.
100.
That's a 100. Look at that. You couldn't do that. I couldn't do that.
I swear to God, if you gave every one of
100.
these 100, what we really learned is Gary didn't do his homework. Next up on the list, let's get a little love to West Virginia's Darius Stills. Look at this interception against Kansas. Balls up, balls up, balls up. Oh! That's like when you know that like somebody dropped the vase that you're going to get busted if it gets broken. Like your mom is going to know that you had a party. So suddenly you're just diving across the room saying, oh God, that can't get broken. That is the one artifact. And as a result, when somebody makes a play you don't expect out of nowhere, when you got a D lineman diving for it, you get a better score from me. 92.
Okay.
Giving it a 92.
Kids, if you break anything, Gorilla Glue does wonders and it leaves no trace. Ohio State, we're showing a touchdown. Jason Fitz, you can probably guess what I'm about to give Mr. Jackson Smith, recipient from Mr. 1 Justin Fields. That's nice. Tiptoe.
Oh, that one was nice. Yeah.
Toe drag. Are you kidding me? How could I not look at this play, hat flying across the screen, and see the toe tap and not give that young man a 100?
No, okay. That's
Show
fair.
me the 100.
That is on brand for you, but you know what? I think you're right on this one. That is one of the best catches we've seen. Absolutely beautiful work by
My
him.
groin would tear to shreds if I attempted that at any age in my life.
My groin tears to shreds walking up the stairs. Okay, Georgia Southern here late in the third quarter. Shai Wertz launches a 35-yard pass to Najee Thompson. Look at this grab. You got to see the replay to do it full justice. Look at that. Oh, he's going one way, then his body goes the other. It's good. It's good work. I mean, it's good. It's good.
Okay.
I give it an 83.
Of course he would.
I mean, I'm a tough judge. Like,
Of course he would.
You know, he basketed it. Like,
This is an instance that we're about to see that your homies just come and support you, all right? Sam Howell trying to make something happen. Defenders like, you know what? I'm about to intercept this ball. De'Ami Brown's like, no, the heck you're not. That's for me. That's intended for me. Nuh-uh, not today. I'm watching out for my boy. He can't have another interception on that box score. Give me a 100 for the friendship and loyalty, Jason Fitz.
you know what? You're having so much fun throwing out these hundreds. Let's keep it obvious. I'll also get one that is obviously going to give us this kind of score. We've seen it a million times this year, but it's worth $1,000,001. Vanderbilt kicker Sarah Fuller converts an extra point, becomes the first woman to score a point in a Power 5 game. Incredible moment for what it will be remembered for. Historically, this is the sort of moment that will end up in the College Football Hall of Fame, and it's the sort of moment that inspires young women everywhere to know that they can do this too. It will also change the future of the sport for all of those reasons. Flat out 100.
Okay, one
Flat out 100.
equals the 100. Okay, so now you're sensing my drift, which is fine because I'm about to lead into this one right here. Empty stadium, the Leprechaun, his time to shine. Luck of the Irish, gave a little boot. Could have used some extra points today versus Clemson. So guess what the Notre Dame Leprechaun is getting from me? 100. I'm sick of leprechauns only being known for being a delicious breakfast cereal. The leprechaun is also a fantastic college kicker. That's a 100. I'm talking about Lucky Charms, by the way.
We all knew they're magically delicious. All right, we got an NC State D lineman here getting in on some fun. Alan McNeil tips the interception to himself and then returns it for a touchdown. Look at this.
Yes.
Gets his hands up in the air like they always teach you, and then just swipes it out of the air, and then outruns, outpowers, rumbling, stumbling, tumbling.
The big boy has a dunk on him. Look at that thing move. You better give this a 100, Jason.
When you
Fitz.
wiggle and jiggle like that and it's oh so pretty, you get all 3 digits. 1, 0, 0, 100.
How many of these do we have left? Okay, Bo Nix making another appearance in the show. He's dead to rights. Absolutely has nowhere to go. Psych, Gary, I'm just kidding. Give me a 100 because we haven't stopped giving out scores for the last 20 minutes. Look at him, just completely engulfed.
This is the most work Gary's done all year.
Do not show this to the College Football Playoff Committee. They will say, Texas A&M can't tackle. How can we put them in the College Football Playoff picture? Anyway, Bo Nix gets the 100 for escapability. I am exhausted, Jason Fitz.
Oh, Tulsa quarterback Davis Brin finds Juan Carlos Smooth Santana in the back of the end zone. Touchdown. 37-yard touchdown pass.
What beat was that?
That's the beginning of Smooth by Carlos Santana.
Thank you.
Oh, come on, man. You know, I can't do it.
No, I need
Your
it.
hair is so pretty.
I needed it.
That's the one thing you got. I mean, I give it an 80. I just got an 80.
I thought this was Divine Bovine. I thought we would continue to give out 100s. But
I'm still going to be a tough judge.
We've left the college ranks, and we're in high school right now, and this was just absolute sauce from my boy in Gilbert, Arizona. That's Kai Milner. He doesn't even need to use the eyes in the front of his head because the back of his head works perfectly fine. That's the converted two-point conversion. It would have been nice if it was a touchdown. Nevertheless, it's a two-point conversion because they just scored a touchdown. Give me 100 for the young bull. He probably watches the program and SportsCenter Snap.
Speaking of young bulls, let's go to the Buffalo Bulls. Jarrett Patterson, swiggity swooty, he's coming for that booty over and over and over and over and over. I can't say it 8 times. 8 touchdowns. 409 yards in Buffalo's 70-41 win against Kent State. That is not a misspeak for once in my professional career. 8 touchdowns, 409 yards. Good Lord, that is our biggest of the big. I give this one a 99.
Gee, come on.
It doesn't get the 100 because, as much as I love Buffalo coach Lance Leipold, he pulled him out just shy of the record.
We made the eye contact. I thought you were going to take it to the 100, but now, hey, listen, we're done. We're done with that. It's time for the AT&T countdown to the CFP National Championship. Here we go. We take a look at a great performance by, you saw him earlier, Ohio State running back Trey Sermon, preach young bull, who led the Buckeyes to the Big Ten title by rushing for 331. I did not misspeak. 2 scores in a 22-10 win. Go off.
How you finish is the most important thing in terms of your legacy as a team.
They've worked for this opportunity, and this is why you came here, not just to play in this game, to go win this game.
If we're playing at our best, we can play with anybody in the country.
Players come to Alabama and players go to Florida to play in games like this.
None of you guys can flash me.
Still tired.
I'm telling you. That's the most work Gary's done all year. He's going to need the rest. You know what? After tonight, take the rest of the year off.
I plan on it.
It's the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. He's Gary Striewski. I'm Jason Fitz, usually Trevor Scales in that seat.
Correct.
Gary has done an admirable and, might I say, incredible job over the last couple of weeks filling in for Trevor. We always love Trevor. Wish he was here. But I'm glad you're here. But we're going to bring in some extra expertise to help us along.
Please do.
And that's in the form of one Peter Burns. You can check him out on the SEC Network. You can check out ESPN Radio on Sunday mornings. And I am so glad that we've got you on right now, dude, because I got to figure out Texas A&M. Like, we just watched Clemson do dirty things to Notre Dame. So now, if in my mind the committee's going to have to make a decision between A&M and Notre Dame, what do they do?
Well, first of all, I was just wondering if they were going to have 200 more plays. Poor Gary having to work that hard, man, with all those holy cow plays. Yeah, we're running out of milk there. It was impressive. Going into it, this was actually probably the worst case situation that could have happened for Texas A&M, right? Outside of losing to Tennessee today. Because you end up seeing Ohio State beat Northwestern, kind of ugly, but as you saw, Trey Sermon was fantastic in the second half. And Clemson winning against Notre Dame, which splits it, but it wasn't by enough, right? It felt like a blowout was coming, but then all of a sudden, you didn't see that blowout materialize. So Notre Dame actually probably is going to end up being in the 4th spot for the College Football Playoff Committee. I mean, Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher was politicking. I mean, he was hot afterwards. He said, listen, we've won 7 straight SEC games. There are teams, i.e. Ohio State, that haven't even played 7 games total. He talks about, hey, this is not only the toughest conference in college football, it's the toughest division as well. It was a good win for Texas A&M today, but outside of any kind of chaos that's happening, and I'm not sure now, even if Florida beat Alabama, if Texas A&M is going to get enough love from the College Football Playoff Committee, because it feels like they've already tipped their hand over the last couple of weeks, guys.
Peter, I completely agree with everything you just said, and I already self-admittedly said I was super gullible. So as Coach Fisher laid all of that out after that win, he convinced me that Texas A&M does in fact belong. And I know you just mentioned Florida. I'm not endorsing this. I don't even believe it to be true. But if Florida pulls out a miracle and beats Alabama in convincing fashion, let's go through some of the chaos scenarios that could see the Gators bypass all of that and be the 4th team.
Well, first of all, as a person who says a lot of things they don't believe many times, I'm in your boat completely, 100%. But I will say this. It would take a Herculean effort. I'm talking about the kind of beatdown that Clemson just put on Notre Dame for Florida to do that against Alabama, for the Florida Gators to have a shot right now. And again, I just don't see that happening against an Alabama team that really, once they got the wake-up call against Ole Miss earlier this year, defensively they have been nothing short of fantastic. And I think everyone wants to talk about Mac Jones and Najee Harris and Devontae Smith, rightfully so. It's actually been Alabama's defense that's made them arguably maybe the most complete team that Nick Saban has had in Tuscaloosa maybe ever, right? Because we always knew they were great defensively, but on the other side of it, they've never had this complementary offense. So I do not see that happening. But let's say even if it is chaos, I think it's nice and neat for the College Football Playoff Committee, who likes their brands right now, to say, listen, Alabama's still going to be in. We're going to have Notre Dame in because we like them so much going forward. You're going to have Ohio State, who played, a half jamboree schedule this year, and now you're going to have Clemson in. I don't believe that Ohio State should make the Final Four. That's my personal opinion, because we've seen it. 6-game season. That's not a real season, guys. And it's not Ohio State's fault by any means. And I know Buckeye fans are upset when I say this. I'm not upset with you. You have a great Heisman Trophy type quarterback in Justin Fields. You have a wonderful head coach in Ryan Day. And they work their tail off to even have Big Ten football, which in essence even led Pac-12 football to even happen, because the Pac-12 always follows the Big Ten lead over in this offseason. What I am saying is that upsets happen in college football. Look at what happened with Florida and LSU. And to me, the committee won't do it, but a team that only plays 6 games in their entire schedule should not be able to qualify for the college football playoff.
Burnsy, before we let you go tonight, obviously there are a few different Heisman candidates in this game. Kyle Trask, Mac Jones, Devonta Smith. How do you see the Heisman race playing out after tonight?
Najee Harris, Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney. I mean, this is unbelievable about how much talent's going to be on the field here in about 20 minutes over in Atlanta. Ultimately, I think the more and more people I talk to, the more and more people have gone back and looked at film at Devonta Smith and said, listen, the numbers are incredible. The punt return last week helped them, but it's really what opposing offense or opposing defenses have to do to kind of bracket and double team Devonta Smith after Jalen Waddle went down. That maybe is one of the most impressive things. Like, his engine is so good. He's put up these numbers, even though everybody is covering him with double coverage right now, and it's allowing Alabama to free up the rest of their offense. So I do feel like there's this momentum that if it is a big day for Mac Jones, more than likely it's going to be a big day for Devonta Smith against a Florida secondary that struggled. So I would think over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, Devonta Smith has a real chance to win the Heisman Trophy tonight in Atlanta.
Peter Burns, you are the best, my friend. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Have a Merry Christmas. Thanks, brother.
Merry Christmas, boys.
Well, we're trying to get, technology at its finest. That's what we do here. It's live TV.
I was just super amped that he said DeVonta Smith. If he passes the century mark in 2 scores, we just had a Fitz's 5 last week that was like, I'm sick of giving this to quarterbacks always. Running backs, okay, but a receiver? Okay, Peter Burns, I rock with that all day, baby.
Look, and I always say, like, I have no favorite college football team. I have no favorite college football player. I root for chaos. So give me anything that gives us chaos. But one thing I know that never gives us chaos, when I get to rank things.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, liftoff.
'Tis the season to be jolly, presents everywhere, and while some people are dreaming of a white Christmas, Gary Striewski, you found yourself dreaming of Fitz's 5.
This is the only thing I wanted to do when they were like, Gary, you're our only option, our last resort to do the show. And I said, I'm only showing up if we do Fitz's 5. So 2nd week in a row, we're doing it. I am happy. Real quick, as a side, you got to give yourself more credit for being a funny guy because this guy, he is hilarious.
Wow, look at this. This is what you finally get a segment with your name on it, and this is what happens. Just praise everywhere. Okay, what we're going to do in the spirit of gifts, like Gary Striewski's hair, a gift that keeps on giving. College football is a gift that keeps on giving. Yes. And in that honor, we're going to rank the top 5 gifts.
Time out real quick. Gifts with a T, not gifts. This is not a GIF ranking, right?
Okay, of course it's not a GIF ranking because that's not the appropriate pronunciation. It's GIF.
No.
And before you talk to me about it, let's be very clear. The man that invented the technology won an award for it. His acceptance speech was all of this. It is pronounced GIF. Whether you like it or not, if you invent the technology, you get to name it. So if my parents decided Jason was going to be pronounced Jason, you might think my parents were idiots, but you'd still have to call me Jason.
Are you still talking? It's a GIF. Oh.
Wow. All right.
Let's get to the GIF.
It's a GIF, and it's a delightful, but these are the gifts of college football. Okay, you ready for this?
I am ready.
Top 5 gifts that we got from college football this year. And in at number 5, let's get a little bit of early morning love to Pac-12 kickoffs. I'm going to put Pac-12 kickoffs in at number 5 because I hope this is a trend that continues moving forward. Think about the first game of the year this year. Think about what we saw from USC. We saw a dramatic ending in a game that reminded everybody, hey, the Pac-12 is here. The Pac-12 is going to give us exciting football. And all of a sudden, people got on board. If that same ending had happened in the middle of the night, it would have been buried the next day by NFL coverage. Instead, we spent all day talking about it. As a result, we got momentum for the Pac-12. They need to keep that momentum moving forward.
Bro, listen, you don't have to convince me that this was the gift that kept on giving because on the other side of 30, I'm talking like in your 20s, maybe it wouldn't matter. But on the other side of 30, when you're like, wait a minute, it's past 10 o'clock and I got to wait for an entire kickoff to start, not happening. So we appreciate the gift. I agree with you on this one, Fitzy.
Other side of 30, which is a staggering reminder for those of us that are on the wrong side of 40. Okay, up next, at number 4 on the list. I'm just a vampire. And number 4 on the list, a little bit of love to what we've seen even today. I got Notre Dame in the ACC. You know what? Just every year we get to have this conversation about Notre Dame, how they fit into the playoffs, what it means for the ACC. I'm all in for Notre Dame, even if it's for 1 year, teasing us into thinking that there's some hope that maybe someday, somehow together, they can all come together and play in the ACC moving forward, because then it gives us Clemson, Notre Dame every single year.
I think we're going to get that regardless, somehow, some way in a CFP format. This just reminds me of like, listen, just let the 1 year be a good 1 year, like a person that you dated and it may have just lasted for a season or a year, but you look back on those fond memories and you're like, you know what? That was actually a really good time. Unfortunately, it had to end for whatever reason, but it was fun while it lasted. So Notre Dame's going to go off and do their own thing, and Clemson's going to go back to being its own boo. But it's been a fun year.
A, that's in and of itself a gift. This is the only year we get of it, then it's a gift.
I appreciate it.
B, what's her name?
What's that?
What's her name?
What's number 3,
Okay,
Jason?
Number 3 on the gifts that college football gave us. I'm a troll. And look, this show's on Twitter, which means you guys are all trolls too with me. At number 3, Jim Harbaugh. I mean, you want to talk about storyline after storyline after storyline. The great gift that we got this year is that even when Michigan is hot garbage, as they were this year, we still talk about it because what the hell is in that mask? I mean, somebody tell me what he's like. I refuse to believe he's not eating a carrot every time, just saying, what's up, Doc?
What's happening? Oh, okay. It's the mouthpiece from the headset. Okay, I think, allegedly.
I was this many years old when I figured that out.
This is a gift, I think, for everybody outside of Ann Arbor because it gives.
Wait. That's he went from super loose mask to super tight mask. Find the in-between, Harbaugh. Find the in-between.
He doesn't want to get roasted by one Jason Fitz.
That's my 5, and my name's
So I appreciate it, yeah, because, I mean, Michigan continues to give us fodder every year, even though Harbaugh has had 3 10-win seasons, and we're going to just laser focus on the one thing that matters in Ann Arbor, and that's the inability to beat Ohio State.
Your logic and reason will be great on December 26th. This is my Christmas list. I don't want any of it. In at number 2 on the list, the Chanticleers, right? Like, none of us knew anything about Coastal Carolina, let's be real. But when you talk about the gifts that we got this year, just watching Ryan McGee, frankly, cover Coastal Carolina, seeing these awesome, like the field, I mean, I'm all in on all of it. Plus, they gave us another gift, and that was the last-second scheduling, adding BYU in what I hope becomes a trend for college football moving forward. I, as the czar of college football, would open up an extra week at the end of the season where any team could add any non-conference matchup. It would be a great way for teams like Coastal Carolina to take some extra money from the big boys and get resume marks. So, I love the gift.
I just like the fact that they based their entire identity off of mullets, and friend of the show, Kelsey Riggs. This was her first TV market, so I like the win. Suspect on the placement, because I wouldn't be mad if you placed him number 1. So I'm interested to see what your number 1 is.
That's funny because it's not Gary's greats. It's Fitz's
true.
5. All right.
That's also very true.
I'm always alliterative. In at the top of the list, the best gift we got was games. Like, I don't want to oversimplify things, but I spent much of the summer talking to markets all across the country on radio, right? And when we were talking about it, it was, will we get college football? What kind of college football will we get? Will anybody be playing? Will there be a playoff? How's it going to work? What's going to happen? All of that was real. So, realistically, what I've seen over the course of the entire summer was a fear that we weren't even going to have college football to talk about. So, as much as we can be snarky and we can make fun of so many of these results, just the fact that we've had college football to talk about and been able to do all these shows is the single greatest gift. And man, did we need it in 2020. You get to grade me.
I like that list, Fitz. And I know last week I gave you the doo-doo emoji, and I feel like we got off to a rocky start. They're equals, which is saying a lot because I love the hoodie. So for all of that, I am going to raise a glass to you, my friend.
Wow.
Here I am, cheersing you with a festive emoji drink. And I agree with Fitz's 5. I'm upset that this has to come to an end, Fitz, but like all good things, it must. This is your segment. You get the last word.
Okay, well, that's really it. That's my 5. You know, of all the 5s we did, I feel the best about this one. You should feel the best about the college football playoff, which is obviously coming up. If you can't make it to the playoff in Miami, join us virtually for the College Football Playoff All-Access Experience featuring exclusive content and the chance to win prizes. Register today at collegefootballplayoff.com/all-access.
4 teams, 2 semifinals, New Year's Day. The College Football Playoff lives on ESPN.
Oh, baby, oh, baby, oh, baby, oh, baby, bruh. It's time to talk plays from today that made us say, bruh, delivered by Pizza Hut.
Look, we got the best of bruh to get to, but we got to start with today because last I heard, we've got a sassy flag throw. And anytime you say sassy flag throw, I want in it. Let's judge the sassiness.
Yes, dude.
That was sassy.
Yes.
Like, up, the flag shall throweth into the aireth.
He was definitely sassy because he let the hand just sort of leave up there, just kind of dangle. That is sassy, sassy.
I'm all in for that. There's a bar in Nashville where everybody throws napkins up.
Really?
While Don't Cry For Me Argentina plays. It's a thing.
I'm going to Nashville soon. I'm going to get recommendations. Okay, so that set the table for the rest of Bruz. So buckle up for the next 86 minutes. We are going through the best Bruz of the season. I'm starting things off with Abilene Christian's Lionel McConnell. He thinks he has the easy touchdown, but think again when you're playing Army, baby. All right, check it out. He's going to throw the deuces. Psych! Julian McDuffie. Where do you think you're going? Because Julian McDuffie just tracked down Lionel McConnell and said, you will fall right there at the 9-yard line.
Not
do that.
Speaking of premature celebrations,
I was wondering where you were going with that.
Just going to let it sit there. Oh, yeah, yep. He's like, I got this. I don't got this.
The point, no.
I mean, look, I love the fact that he's all confident that he's going to score, but Rose thinks he's about to score. All of a sudden doesn't happen. And what makes it even worse, like if that wasn't enough, two plays later, fumbles at the goal line.
Oh, bruh.
None of this went well for him.
That's on me.
Regrettable.
He said that's on me. This is why I feel bad for anybody whose primary job is to use their leg to either kick field goals or punt footballs, because you have one job and it can go terribly bad. And when it goes terribly bad, you are already ostracized from the rest of the team. Well, this is UL Monroe's punter. I'm not even going to say his name because I don't want him to relive the moment. He didn't give up just one, but 2 touchdowns on blocked punts in the end zone versus freaking Liberty, bruh. I wasn't going to say his name, but it's in the lower third, so I might as well just say Daniel Spark.
That's fair. You know what? But, hey, it takes a whole team to have that level of suck when it comes to punting the football. All right, next up, you thought that was poopy.
Speaking of, huh?
USC quarterback gets sacked by Arizona State's Tyler Johnson, who immediately just, he knows. He's like, sorry, I got to head to the tunnel. Bad things happened. Bad things happening.
Lamar Jackson just did this on Monday Night Football.
I mean, maybe.
Allegedly.
Per
the internet.
Hey, look, I'm all in for it. That's why you never, ever, ever play for a team with white pants.
Straight up, man. If you got to go, you got to go. This is Bailey Hockman finding himself in trouble. No, it's not. This is Army attempting a trick play on a kick return, which turns into a Tulane, most underrated helmet and color palette in college football, turns into a Tulane touchdown.
Look, what I'm really bothered by is the air guitar at the end. Nobody ever air fiddles with the football at the end.
That's because it's more difficult. It's a smaller guitar. It's more of a skill set that you possess, actually.
Oh, we all remember this. This ending of this game was just, first the safety. I mean, just the thought that, all right, gonna go down. Things are not going well. I'm just gonna throw it away. Wrong way. You're going the wrong way. How do they know which way we're going?
She's telling me there's a road. That's a lake. Michael, that's a lake. The Office. I think those are the words, give or take. Anyway, you get the drift.
That was well done by you.
Okay, this is Miami, Virginia Tech. Don't call them Va-Tech. D. Wiggins gets forced out of bounds and crashes into the kicking net. The kicking net caught him. We're calling this a bruh, but bruh is thankful the kicking net was there to gently place him on the ground.
Wow. It's gift wrapping. 'Tis the season to be gift wrapped.
Bruh. I think we did it a service.
Speaking of doing wonderful things, you love to see it. We want to wish a happy belated birthday to our very own Trevor Scales, who's usually in that chair with us every Saturday. But even more importantly than anything revolving around his birthday, on his birthday, he chose to use that moment to have a very special moment here that we now see. Congratulations to our guy Trevor, now engaged, and to his future beautiful, beautiful, beautiful bride, Bree.
The future Mrs. Scales and Trevor, he knew what he was doing. We were talking about this weeks in advance. He said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to post it on Instagram. I'm proposing on my birthday, so that way the caption can be, I got a fiance for my birthday. How can you ever top that? Look at this. How can you? And look at the ring.
The ring was like, let me tell you, I've known Trevor a while. I've never seen him more nervous than when he was waiting for the mail to deliver the ring, and they were late. Like, he was like, how long till I call them? Like, it was pretty awesome. It's an incredible moment for an incredible human being. I said it at the time when he was his last week with us before the end of the season. Trevor is one of the best men that I've ever been able to get to know in my life. I'm so happy for him and for Bree. This is going to be an incredible moment.
We better get invited to the wedding is all I'm saying.
Oh, no, we ain't getting invited. If we do get invited, we're going to commentate the entire time over on the side, and then we'll get kicked out right away.
Be like, we're work friends, not real friends. We're real friends.
Wow. While we're throwing out some thank yous, this is, if you've been hanging out with us, this is the last Saturday of the College Football Show. We will be back in some form for the playoffs for the national championship. There'll be more digital college football to come. But this Saturday show that you've watched every single week ends with tonight's episode for this season. So there are a lot of people that work on this show, and obviously sometimes we're remiss in giving them thanks. So I do want to make sure to say thank you for Tyler, Marissa, Caroline, Isaac, Jonas, another Caroline. We got two Carolines. Zach, Kyle, Stacy, Isabel, Laura, Jason, CL, Sid, Matt Ufford, everybody that makes this show possible, Mike Foss, the green lights, all of this. We wouldn't have a show without the incredible team that it takes to put this together. All Gary and I have to do is sit in a conference room and have fun for hours and hours a day because people work much harder behind the scenes than you'll ever understand to put this show together. So we want to take a sincere moment and say thank you to them and thank you to you guys for watching. This has been the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. You can watch Tulsa take on Cincinnati for the AAC title game right now on ABC. Just log on, authenticate, hang out right here. We'll see you again on New Year's Day for Countdown to the CFP semifinals streaming on these platforms. That'll be at 4 p.m. Eastern. Also tomorrow, you can check out Rankings Reaction. Mike Golick Jr., Christine Williamson, and I will get you caught up on whatever the committee does at 1 o'clock tomorrow right here. So hang out with us. Thank you so much for being so kind as to give us your Saturdays every single weekend.